This
All right.
conference will now be recorded.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody, or good early evening. Welcome to our second virtual public forum with the City of Roswell. And we're going to jump right on in there. Again, as for those of you that have attended the last one, or those of you that have not, we will go through a series of topics. We've got a topic that we will cover in greater detail, and then we have a number of questions that we've received over the week that we will try to answer as best that we can, and then we will open it up to the group for any questions that would like to come from the group that is online, as long as we have time. We will try to keep the forum to about 1 hour, and that just be respectful of everybody's time. So we're going to go ahead and get underway. I'm going to try to share the PowerPoint so that we can get that over there, and we'll get underway. All right. Again, thank you for coming. This is our virtual public forum. Our first, our main topic for today was how to get involved in helping our city. The City of Roswell is a very dynamic community. It takes care of a community of about 50,000 people. 48,411 is what we had in the 2010 census. There's 2.58 people per household. The average family size is 3.13. The average household income is $27,252, and the family median income is $31,724. When we look at the census information, it's very important to understand the dynamics and the demographics of our people, because the services of the city will adjust and change with the needs of the community. And so I like to at least start this conversation off with understanding what we had for the 2010 census. And just a reminder that if you haven't been able to do it yet, fill out your census information. The counts that we have affect our federal funding and some of the state funding and our ability to get grants. So if we can get our people recognized, that provides us the benefit to bring our money back to the community to support the community. So I just want to put that point out there for the census information. We are a council manager form of government in the City of Roswell. And what that means is that the city council is the governing body of the city. We have what is called a weak form of mayor. The mayor's duties are a little bit differently than in the strong form, because the duties of the mayor as a CEO and the duties of the manager as the CAO, or the chief administrative officer, are split as far as how we govern the city. We have 12 elected leaders. That is a 10-member city council, the mayor, and then of course a municipal judge. We have 64, and I will say that it's right. Currently, we are at 69 because of the Keep Roswell Beautiful Committee that was enacted by the City Council here just recently with appointed citizens. We have 560 employees. As we went through the budget cycle, that number is down from about 640 to 560 due to how we built the budget this year. We do have 41 departments within the city, and that's how we kind of govern the city within that structure. The elected officials, I'll just talk briefly on the elected officials. The city is divided into 5 different wards, and after the census, we will have to go through a redistricting of the wards, because we'll have to look at the population basis, because we have to keep equal numbers as best as we can within those 5 wards. But we have 2 city councilors that are elected at each ward, and then of course the mayor is elected at large. We do have the city council terms are 4-year staggered terms, and so half the council, so one city councilor in each ward will come up every 2 years, and then the next 2 years are the other 5, and then it's a 4-year cycle for that. And then the mayor and the municipal judge alternate between the elections. We had an election this year, and that included the municipal judge and 5 of our city councilors. And so in 2 years, we will have the next municipal election, which will include the mayor's position as well as the other 5 city councilors. Moving over into how we walk through information and how we vet items and topics that are on the city council's agenda. We utilize 5 standing committees, and we break up the city councilors. So every city councilor serves on 2 of these standing committees. And so they are the Finance Committee, General Services Committee, Infrastructure, Legal Committee, and the Public Safety Committee. And so we break up that council, and really what we look at the committees is that's the workhorse part of our whole governmental structure. That is where we're vetting. That's where the staff information become very important to make sure that all the information is on the table so that our elected officials can make the most appropriate decisions as to what direction we take the city. We also have 3 service boards or committees, and why I set these different for that is that these may be made up of city staff members, these may be made up of county officials, they may be made up of some citizens, and kind of a combination of city staff as well as the citizens of the city. So the Ambulance Administrative Oversight Committee is one that is put together, and they watch the ambulance service contract, they assist the fire department and such like that. The Pecos Valley Regional Communications Center Board, that is a joint powers agreement between Chavez County and the city of Roswell to govern essentially our dispatch service, the 911 dispatch and the dispatch center. So we jointly manage that service. And of course, then we have the Outstanding Citizen Award Committee, and that is made up of various individuals in order to look at petitions for individuals that have done something wonderful for our community, or how we want to recognize individuals within our community. This is the crux of the presentation for this part. We build everything into these citizen boards, commissions, and committees. And right now we're utilizing 69 citizens in a established manner for this. And that doesn't, and I'll talk a little bit more about how you can get involved if you don't have the time to serve on a board or a committee or a commission. We still want to hear from you. This is a government for the people, and so that doesn't mean that everybody's going to agree with what everybody's position is, but what it does mean is that the mayor and the city council want to hear from their constituents on how the people would like to see the city governed. And so our 69 citizens are made up of these committees right now, boards and commissions. The cemetery board, we carry 5 citizens. The Commission of Aging is 6 members, citizen members. The Occupancy Tax Board is 5 citizen members. Parks and Recreation Commission are 7. Planning and Zoning Commission are 7. The Roswell Museum and Arts Center Board of Trustees is 11. The Roswell Public Library Board of Trustees is 8. The Airport Commission is 5. And the Roswell Keep Roswell Beautiful committee that has just been reinstituted, working hand in hand with Keep Chavez County Beautiful committee. We have one, of course, for the city itself as well, is a 5 citizen member. I'll get into the various task forces, but each one of these boards have different responsibilities and duties based upon either the state statute or the city code. And so they are all identified with either one of those documents for the legalese as to how these things operate. Each one of these individuals here, once these boards are created by the city council, they are nominated by the mayor. And then the city council either ratifies or chooses not to ratify the citizens that are presented by the mayor at that point in time. And that's how this process works in order to put our citizens on there. We do have limitations on allowing the citizen members to serve on these boards for 2 terms, and then they come off and they can serve in a different role at that point in time. The last topic on there is that various task force on specific matters. And these are a lot different. So you can see that the Complete Census Count Committee is the one that we have actually currently operating right now. That is a 10-member group that is assisting with our census efforts so that we can get a good count of our population, again, for those reasons of getting our federal dollars back so that we can spend them in our community. We've utilized different various task force for a lot of different things, and I would say that I believe that the mayor and the city council are interested as we start to tackle different issues that are on a broader level. Putting a task force together that can kind of help walk through some of those pieces goes a long way with providing that vetting ability that we've looked at everything. I've mentioned this with the city council a few times, and I believe they agree with that as well too, is that the more information we can put on the table, then the better decisions we make. And so we have 50,000 individuals within the city. We have 67,000 within the county. Every individual has an impact to the way our service model works. And so we rely heavily upon those individuals to provide those pieces. So these are the ones that are selected. I was trying to think of a couple task force that we put together for different things. We bring the groups together for a lot of different pieces. I know we had one for the zoo. We actually invited a lot of individuals in, all the services with the animal services, all the rescues. We brought them in order to help us build a better code for the city. We're constantly outreaching and trying to get as much information as possible through all of our projects, infrastructure, and all of that. So we keep working on that in that level. But those are the 69 citizens that we currently have on the citizen boards, commissions, and committees. The flow of information, if I can get that to go ahead and flip on that. All right. Here's the informational flow chart for the committees to the council. And you can see that I've got in the middle is the city council. The city council makes all the decisions for the city as an organization, as a structure. They divvy out certain duties, certain vetting services to that. And so when you look at our standing committees, they're the ones that are in the yellow or the golden rod on this diagram. And then each one of our citizen committees report to one of those standing committees in order to help provide that vetting service through the system. As you can see, that the General Service Standing Committee has a majority of the citizen committees in the groups that are reporting through them with the Cemetery Board, the Parks and Rec Commission, the Commission on the Aging, the Museum and Arts Center Board of Trustees, the Library Board of Trustees, the Outstanding Citizen Award, Occupancy Tax Board reports through the Finance Committee, Planning and Zoning Airport Commission report through the Legal Committee, and then of course the Pecos Valley Communications Board and the Ambulance Oversight, Administrative Oversight report through that Public Safety for information. All of the citizen committees are considered an advisory group to that city council to help them make the decisions that are good for our community. Now, and as I talked a little bit about that, all of these commissions, boards, and committees, there is some structure to them, and if that structure is not where you want it to be, you always have the ability to join forces with our community partners. So the Hispano Chamber of Commerce, the Roswell Chamber of Commerce, they work with our business community. They work with all of our small business owners through that. If you find that you want to be involved in the growth of the economic development within the city, you can become a member of the Roswell Chaves County Economic Development Council. We have Main Street Roswell. Now they have an area that is in the downtown area along Main Street, but it is a little larger than Main Street. It hits Richardson and Virginia. But you can become a part of that organization. I will also say that, because we have the Boys and Girls Club that provide us service through the recreation department, that you could get involved in these. Those are our primary community partners. We have agreements with each one of them for different things. I will also say that for those of you that have not looked, the churches are very important to us because that kind of provides that icing on top of the cake, as well as our civic clubs. So the Kiwanis, the Rotaries, the Lions Club, the Elks, all the animal clubs as well too, animal name clubs, I would say. But all those civic clubs, all those churches, the Optimists, and everybody that is out there, their primary purpose is to make our community better. Maybe not even just the city of Roswell, but Chaves County as a whole, or the region, the southeastern region of New Mexico. They're all involved. They're all partners to us, and they're very important to us. And so but there's different relationships with that. I was going to add, before I get into the next piece, the only other piece I will add with this is as you get involved, is to start coming to the standing committees, start coming to the city council meeting, participate where you desire to do that, share your thoughts, share your mind within that structure. We are all working to try to make the community better. We're all trying to make our home better. And so I think the idea is that we want to hear from you. I know the city council does. And so just get involved in that level that you can. I think the one challenge that we do have is that social media being the creature that it is, we have a lot of individuals that are going on social media and having a conversation with the rest of the public and everything. But it doesn't get you to the best extent of being part of the conversation. Everything we do is we try to be as transparent as we can with the information, with all of this data that we are trying to do these virtual public forums so we can get the information out. We're always trying to interact with the public, interact with our people so that everybody can be kept on track with what is happening. I wanted to go over just a little bit because, again, the city actually has, while we dropped down to 560, we still maintain about a 20 to 25% attrition rate on our employees. So we have jobs available all the time. So if your thought is to try one of the jobs and become a part of our community in that manner, this is a listing of our city departments. We have broken them down into the public safety, public services, public administration, and enrichment services. And so as you go down that list, you can see where we've broken down all those individuals' departments so that we have that. And we have 560 employees that are through that structure. This slide is not the best to review, but I'm assuming if as we're recording this forum, you could print this off at some point in time and actually look at that. But this is the organizational structure based upon department as to how we interact with each other within that structure. As I stated earlier, there's approximately 41 different departments, different levels. Some are what we would call departments, some are sectors of those departments, but they all serve that same purpose as we walk through this. And so I just wanted to share the org chart with you. I know that some of our citizens like to see how we've broken up our city, how we walk through the structure. And so this is just a good slide to understand how we go through that, because the staff's job is also to provide that information to the city council so that it's another vetting service so that we're making the best decisions that we can. See if I can get this to change to the next slide. All right. So the last part of this that I wanted to cover is that currently we have citizen opportunities. There are 5 vacancies open on our boards and committees right now. The Commission of Aging has 3 positions available currently within our structure. There is no deadline to submit your name, and I'll talk about how to submit your name. And then Keep Roswell Beautiful, we have 2 positions left to fill, and the deadline to submit the names is August 14th, 2020. If you want to learn more about these positions, you can go onto the city's website at roswell-nm.gov. You go to the tab that says City of Roswell. You go to the city government section, and you will find vacancies and applications in that area in order to keep up with that. We will try to post out on social media. We will try to post out in the paper when we can as well, when these positions come available, because they come available at different times throughout the year. I think the one thing that, one of the strengths of Roswell is the diversity of its people. And I think we want to make sure that our citizen committees and boards and commissions maintain that diversity as well too. So, and that could be gender, that could be race, that could be political affiliation. It could be a lot of different pieces within the structure. But if you have an interest to help our community, we really want to talk to you. All right, that ends the presentation for the early part of this piece. And that's where get involved, help us. I've talked to a lot of citizens over the years that, whether you've elected that official to be your individual, or if you haven't elected them, they are still responding to the needs of your ward, of your city as a whole. So talk to them about how to get involved, talk to them about that. Do not think that our elected officials, even our city staff, they don't know it all. I don't know it all. Our mayor, our city council does not know it all. Their strength comes from us working as a community and participating together within that structure. So whether you like the way something's going, whether you don't like it the way it's going, if you're communicating, if we're communicating, then everything works a lot better. So just want to leave you with that. We'd love to hear from you. The email addresses of the city council are out on the website. All of the information, their contact information is out there. All of the city staff's emails are out there. We're here to serve. Please let us know how we can help and allow you to be a part of our community and where we're headed. All right. Of course, over the last week, we put out on social media, we put out questions and our requests for questions from the group. We have 6 questions that we pulled off of that group. And so the second part of this public forum will be to cover these questions. I'll get through, I believe it's right after I get through the sidewalk, right if I get through the middle, I will request those of you that are online with us that if you have any other questions to utilize the chat function and type your question in there. So when we get done with the questions in this presentation, we'll go to the chat room and then we will, I will repeat the question off the chat room and then we will try to respond to those questions at that time. And we'll give you as detailed of an answer as we can for any of those questions. In some cases, some of these questions are very, very complex, and it takes a little bit more time to put some of the answers together. But I'll be able to help lead you through that. So there are 6 questions right now, and I've broken them down on the slides after this one, so you can see the 6 that we're going to try to cover. And so we'll go to the first question. What is the city doing to help in the recovery of our businesses? And this individual goes on to explain a little bit more of who they are, because all these questions are received anonymously, and so there is no name attached to them. And so this business, it appears to be a business that relies on overnight stays, and with the current restrictions, they cannot continue to operate and stay afloat. And I'm sorry that we have to go through this structure. I know that everybody within the state, everybody within the nation has a different way to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think that's where this question pertains to that, because we are all struggling within how can we stay afloat? How can we keep the economy going? How can we take care of our own? The response that we have currently is, and I'm going to try to jump screens, so I apologize if I lose you for a little bit on the presentation, but on the Roswell Chaves County EDC site, there is all the information is available for the COVID-19 for all the federal, state, and local programs that we have provided. Internally, as far as the city goes itself, we can assist in delaying the payment of utility bills and other fee structures. We're going to continue on with that. We do have also being built, and a lot of our conversation is going on that once the restrictions are removed, once we know that we can start reopening into the gating criteria or the phasing, we do have marketing and attraction plans for the regional and national implementation ready to go. We were already working on that information, but what we've chosen to do is hold off on spending that money now because right now I know that at the state level, we're trying to keep individuals from coming and potentially infecting our own population or vice versa. And I just look at that self-quarantine of 14 days if you come across the state line as being a part of that. I'm going to try to jump over to our website really quickly. And I want to thank Public Affairs and all of our departments. Our website has just been renovated and updated, and so you can see that we've moved some of the information around on there. We've tried to brighten it up. We've tried to make it easier and more usable by the people that want to get there. But as you can tell, we have these 6 primary buttons in the middle of our website: the City of Roswell, the Air Center, Tourism, Convention Center, Economic Development, and School District. So pertaining back to the question of what are we doing for that, I really wanted to take you on to the Roswell-Chaves County Economic Development website because right at the top of their website is this broad level click button that says help for businesses negatively impacted by the COVID-19 health emergency. If you click on that button there, you can see that there is all the steps that a business can take for the disaster assistance, the application for the recommendations, the federal assistance, the CARES Act, the loan assistance, and so on and so on. We've tried to keep the information out there for this. I know that the state has a number of programs themselves in order to help small business survive through this. I would say that one of the things that is our concern or that we want to watch very closely is that the federal funds, the state funds will eventually stop. And at that point in time, I believe that's where the city and Chaves County become even more important to help us go a little bit farther and close those gaps until the economy can fully recover. And I think that's the challenge we have with this and trying to find out how to manage it is that the city has very little control about the restrictions that we are under. All we can do is keep track of how we're going to do this, and then we can provide it. I know that the city council just approved a program that will help our businesses. There's $150,000 that's been slated for that now, upwards to about $1.5 million. That as we get out of this, that if the business needs to do ADA accessibility or the business needs to do fire suppression to meet that new economic model that they need to, because they're going to have to, be moving quickly through that process. That this program would be operated through the EDC, but it's the city council that initiated the program to provide some of our dollars that can be used for economic development back to those business community to help. And so that's where we're at. We are interested in hearing other opportunities that we can do with that. The challenge with delaying utility bills and other fees is that statutorily, we do have to collect that money at some point in time, but the statute is silent as to when we have to collect it. So we can postpone it. We can work with everybody on payment plans. We can help everybody through that in order to get that all caught up. We just need to know where we can help with that. And so over the course of the last 3 months, we've done a lot of different activities like that to try to help. We stay close with the EDC, we stay close with Chaves County in order to try to figure out how to help it. We're as frustrated as everybody else with the stepping backwards on that for our restaurants and everything. And so we hope that we can get through this crisis and then back to some semblance of normal, whatever that normal is at that point in time. Okay. All right. And I went ahead and packaged these questions together. They're not in the sequence that I received them, but the second question is, what are you doing to attract bigger businesses to Roswell? And then the individual that provided this question went on to say, nobody wants to stay here because there is no real work. Professionals don't want to stay because there's no amenities. And this individual says, no, the aquatic center isn't attracting people here. As we look into the response, one thing that because I don't know who all's online and I don't know everybody's level of understanding how the economy works. We have to start with understanding or considering the primary needs of big business. One of the biggest things that we have to have in order to attract big business is availability of skilled workforce. We have to have our individuals trained to a certain level so that the big business will want to utilize our workforce when they get here. I think that is one of the biggest challenges that the EDC is working on right now, and that was an initiative started in the last year and a half, I think up to 2 years ago, is to work with our community college, work with the school districts in order to better prepare our skilled workforce. I think that's the one thing that you need to understand when we start trying to attract a big business, and there's different subjectivity as to what is a big business. It starts with, do we have the workforce and the skills that they need in order to build here? It is also the climate to do business. And what I mean by that is it's location to a certain extent. We have access to rail, we have access to airplane. We're not on an interstate, but we have an excellent 4-lane system of getting trucks in and out. So we have a lot of the mechanics for that location type question for our big business. And so it is the climate that they want to do business. Is it a business that we can partner with other businesses? So it's almost like a clustering of types. And I love using the dairy system as a good cluster, because we go from the farming that we have in order to build to grow the crops. Those crops feed our cattle at the dairy farms. The milk that the dairy cattle are producing goes to Leprino and other locations for the milk itself, but a lot of it goes into the Leprino, which has 680 jobs, I believe, that they have. They manufacture it into cheese. That cheese goes out into the marketplace, and then it goes back through the cycle. So the entire feed system of that location and the dairy sector is a really good model to look off that. And so when you look at even at the air center for the aviation businesses and such, we have a lot of space out there. We have a lot of planes parked right now because they can't fly during the COVID responses. And so what that has generated some interest in maintenance and repair operations. We have no flights from United out of our facility, but I learned just this week that we have more United planes parked out there than we have American Airlines planes parked at our air center. And so we have mechanics from United that are staying out here on a short-term basis, and they're helping maintain these planes because there's a lot of requirements that go into it. And then finally, the quality of life, and I think that's where I go back to the question that was asked of the individual that provided the question. The quality of life is very important in today's society of big business and our millennial workforce and such. It used to be in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. It was manufacturing, and so we had a lot of individuals that would stay in a community and work just like their father did, just like where their grandfather did, and go through that. So we were taking care of the locals at that point in time. In today's world, as mobile as we are, and I would say worldwide, because we have worldwide businesses that are operating out of garages in our community as well too, but they can go anywhere. And so what happens with the millennial workforce, at least according to the information, is that they find a place that has the amenities that they're interested in, and then they look for a job. And so it's a little bit reversed within that structure. I would say, and going back to the comment that the aquatic center does not attract individuals here, I would say that on the largest basis possible, that is factual response for that. I would say that in Roswell, we do not have that many items outside of our brand of aliens that bring people into our community for that purpose. Every one of our services, when you look at everything that we have, you look at the Bottomless Lakes, you look at the Roswell Museum and Art Center, you look at the Anderson Museum, you look at the UFO Museum, you look at the Aquatic Center. All of these things are what we call value-added services. And so what we hope is that if you have a desire to belong in anything, then there are amenities out there. We have a symphony. We have all these different pieces that a community of our size would not normally have, but they help provide to the quality of life. Yes, they're predominantly here for our locals, but I believe that they also serve a purpose on that larger side. So while the Rec and Aquatic Center is not really an attractant to bring people here, our open air, our wide open spaces, our climate, all of those things are parts of that value-added service that make us a very exceptional place to go. I think the challenge that we have, and I think that's what the EDC works very hard on, is the ability to attract or keep a big business interested so that they can look at these pieces. Because short of all these reasons that are here, one of the biggest reasons that a business stays afloat is that they make money. And so if they can make money, then they can build anywhere and they can stay anywhere. The workforce becomes a symptom or a piece of why they're able to make the money. And so all of those things are there. We believe that Roswell is a good climate for that, but I think you have to understand that we really have to have the skilled workforce. And I think that's what we're working on to try to keep those businesses there. And as we get, it's almost a chicken and an egg on the economic side, because you have to have the pieces there before the business will look at you, at least to some level, but you're never equipped completely. One of the other things that the EDC are doing is trying to, what their job is, as opposed to what the chamber's job is that, you know, we operate off of gross receipts tax. We have the smaller mom and pops, the small business community, and then we have the larger business. So what we want to have is we want to have a transition between the lower paying jobs up into the higher paying jobs to hold them here. We're home of 2 hospitals. That helps with the medical community as well. We have a big need because we have a lot of retirees for that health care and such. Moving on to the next question, what is the city doing for kids? Schools are closed, camps are closed, and you have the new expensive building and no programs for teens. With that question, this is a challenging question as we are within the COVID-19 climate and the restrictions on mass gatherings. We don't know exactly how to get completely over this thing, but we have partnered with the Boys and Girls Club. We've actually moved the Boys and Girls Club out to the Rec and Aquatic Center. They are running a reduced program based upon the criteria that the state has allocated, as far as the 5-to-1 ratio for students to the teacher, and all those different pieces. So if you have a teen or if you have a student that really wants to participate, we give the Boys and Girls Club a call and we can get them in that program. Also, the Rec and Aquatic Center is open. There is limited gym time and there are pool hours for lap swimming, and we do use the outdoor pool for swimming classes. And so we do have to meet the COVID response criteria, but those are the opportunities that we have available. We have not opened up some of the other programs like the art classes and such. We are talking about that right now to try to figure out when we can trigger some of that. And I would say that the teens aren't alone because, you know, with our adult center closed down, it's very difficult to allow our seniors and our older population to get out and do that camaraderie and that conversation and everything. So we are looking at this very seriously to try to get there and try to do a little bit more on that. This next question is, when is the city going to fix the sidewalks that were broken before they absolved themselves of repairing them? And I'm gonna start by saying this question is built off of some misinformation within that. And I've got about 6 slides, I think, in here that I'll run through fairly quickly, but to explain where we are at currently. This is part of a presentation that was being prepared for the city council before all of this, all of the pandemic and everything happened. We were going to pull a group together to walk through how we wanted to change the sidewalk program. And so really, if you want to go out and find out how we govern with the sidewalks, the state statutes are right there, 3-49-4, 3-49-5. We start with the state statute as to the laws that are governing our sidewalks. Then we get into the city code, and we have 2 sections within our code. I'm going to talk predominantly about 22-15, the applicability to the sidewalks, but also in 7, there's a section of sidewalks within our zoning requirements as well. 22-15, this is the language that is out there. You can see that the code was initiated in 1984. We did make some small changes within the code in 2013. This language has not changed even in 2013. This is the language that was enacted in 1984 that ties up to the state statute. And I draw your attention to that second column, really. Maintenance, repairs, and reconstruction of all sidewalks shall be the responsibility of the owners of property which abuts such sidewalks. I want to make sure that our citizens understand that currently the law says that the contiguous property owners are responsible for the sidewalks. What we are actually trying to do with the sidewalk process is clean it up so that the city can help participate with that. And so I just want to make sure that you understand that the city is not trying to absolve itself of its responsibilities. The responsibility falls on the owners of the property right now. And what we are trying to do is better that so that we can use some of the city's funding in order to help with that. Here's our current city responsibilities with our current policies. These are things that we've already decided upon or are identified within the statutes and the code. We manage all the curb ramps and the gutters because we consider the gutters and the curb ramps as a part of the street system. The sidewalk is not a part of the street system. The curbs and gutters are. We have also decided that the parkway trees will be a joint responsibility. So what the city does is that we are not responsible for the sidewalk sections damaged by the tree, but we will assist with the replacement of the trees with our tree policy so that the thing that is damaging the sidewalk goes away. And then finally, the last item on there are the city causes. If the city does break a section of that sidewalk, we will fix it. If a contractor breaks a side of the sidewalk, we can have that contractor fix that sidewalk as well too. And so that's our current policies within that structure. These are the recommended policies that we are trying to do with the sidewalks. We have some sidewalks that serve as recreational paths, and I believe we'll have more as time progresses. So if the sidewalk is 8 foot or wider, what we want to ask the city council to do is allow the city to share in the cost to help with that other half of the sidewalk. And so as we turn some of these sidewalks into pedestrian thoroughfares, we want to be able to assist with that. The unoccupied sections. We have in that 7 section of the sidewalks, the unoccupied section. So if there's not a home built on the property, currently we are not able to require a sidewalk on that unoccupied section. We want the ability to go ahead, and the city does have we went into certain unoccupied properties and we put sidewalks in to finish the pedestrian crosswalks in there. What we do want to do is we want to go back and say that when that property develops, we would like to recover some of those costs associated with us putting that sidewalk in, because we're using taxpayer money to do that. And so we are looking at making some changes in the code so that we can get that done. We are also saying that all the new development in the subdivisions, they will be required to have sidewalks within 5 years of the platting of development, because in some cases, the development starts off very quick, very well, and then it stops for whatever reason. We don't want those parcels to sit in those developments forever without a sidewalk. So we're going to establish that a sidewalk be put in until that time is what we recommend to the city council. Also, and there was some conversation on this, we have a sidewalk replacement assistance program, and this has been done a couple different ways with the city over the years. But we want to implement a cost sharing program for low income homeowners. And so if that low income homeowner has trouble paying for that sidewalk replacement, we want to be able to assist. And so there's the criteria that the sidewalk replacement assistance program helps with. We were going to budget approximately $50,000 per year for the assistance to that program. Because we haven't had that conversation yet, we did not get to establish this fund. But I believe that after we get through this budget, as we move into the conversation that we have to have with city council, we will look at trying to initiate some type of cost sharing program for low income. I suspect there will be a conversation with the seniors as well through this process, because we do want to have our community very walkable within that structure. So, okay, I'm going to just remind everybody that if you have questions from the chat room, please start adding. I believe there's actually 3 questions left instead of 2, but go ahead and start entering your questions in the chat room, and we'll keep moving through these. So if you can find that chat function on your GoTo app, please add your questions now. All right, if we got a question, and this one came late in the week, why will our mayor not enforce us to wear a mask? He's a leader and should take a stand. I went ahead and I wanted to try to respond to that. I really believe that the mayor is the most appropriate one to respond to this question, as our city councilors are as well too. But let me walk through just very quickly about the duties of the mayor, the city council, our police department, and then our concerns with where we are at. But the mayor in this form of government, the city council is the individuals that actually set the laws of the city and set the city manager and the police department into action as to what we will enforce and how we will enforce. The mayor is a influential position. It is one that assists with that structure. I consider it the CEO position, but anything that the mayor decides to impart upon the city, it still has to go through the city council. And so that's the way the structure works. Our police department are the ones that currently would be the ones to enforce all the laws of the city. And I will tell you, we enforce all the laws. Our concerns with the current health order and the current action of that is that the priority of the response. Our police department, through this constriction of our budget, as like every other department, we lost positions within those departments, so we have fewer people that can do the jobs, and so we have prioritized out. And so it is a priority kind of call. We're going to take the most severe kind of calls first initially, and we're going to work our way down. According to the public health order, the mask, not wearing a mask, is a misdemeanor. It is unclear how to enforce the mandate. It does criminalize the act of not wearing the mask. And I think that within the mayor, and I did ask him before we came for this meeting as to some of the things he would like me to say. He's very uncomfortable, and if you don't know the mayor, he is a retired FBI agent. So he takes the law and the implementation of the law very, very seriously. We have questions as to how this can be enforced. We have questions from the district attorneys as to how they can actually run this through the court system in order to resolve the issue and where it goes. What our police department is doing right now is that we are doing a lot of educational. So we respond to every call that we receive. We will go out. They are carrying extra masks in their vehicles if somebody would like to have a mask. But we really want to have better understanding about this mandate of the mask and what it does. And the CDC responses, you know, social distancing is king of staying away from the contagion. And so that is something, washing your hands and just those personal hygiene pieces are good. Next question, to keep moving along, is what medical experts is the city of Roswell working with during COVID to develop and enforce safety practices to protect its employees and citizens? I'm going to say all of them, but let me share with you a little bit more information as to how we were working with that. On March 19th, we pulled together a joint workshop early on in the pandemic. The joint workshop was held with all our healthcare providers, the hospitals, our first responders, city and county officials. We came together in the convention center to talk about how we work together for the sake of our organization, for the sake of our community. And since that time, all of them have been working hand in hand. We have direct dials to everybody. We're constantly talking about what information we should all be putting out to remind our public to be careful and protected. The city is still meeting on a weekly basis with the hospitals and various doctors and various other officials in order to stay attuned to what all of these actions are as we walk through this. We have Roswell doctors on the governor's medical task force groups. And so that having, and this is not anything to do with the city, but having our local doctors assisting at the state level as well too is very important to us to make sure that they know where we stand within Roswell and Chaffetz County. The city does follow the CDC guidelines and the state health order directives. We are constantly looking at that. We are constantly trying to meet that and trying to improve that. So when the question is that what medical professionals do we work with? We work with all of them. We stay very close, hand in hand. Our emergency manager, Karen Sanders, constantly on a day-to-day basis is nudging the system so that we can make sure that we are keeping our public as safe as possible. That is all of the questions within this, that I received. I do see that we have a chat. I'm going to move all the way back up to the top slide just so you don't have to look at that last question. We have a question that says, can you comment on the purpose of the lobbyists the city council recently voted to budget $40,000 for? Yes, and what we are trying to do, and if you understand the system of how laws are created, how funding is allocated throughout the state, it all happens in that 30-day to 60-day cycle within that legislative, when the legislators are all up there meeting. The challenge is that a lot of that work that happens throughout the year. And so you may be meeting with the legislative council. You may be meeting with some of the secretaries of the governor's office. You may be meeting with all those individuals. The challenge we have is that our local legislators do the best that they can within the structure that we have. Our local officials, elected officials, do the best that they can. And what we want to try and what we hope to happen is that the individual that we selected, the Joe Thompson Consulting Incorporated, he is up there, and his organization is up in Santa Fe and Albuquerque. That's where they live. And so what we want to do is have that ability that individual can go over and knock on a door and help set up those things where when our officials get up there, that is good time to have the discussion and we can walk through those issues. When you go up there, unattended and you go up there unprepared, the conversations kind of get a little bit crazy, and you may not be able to get into the individuals because they're not sitting there waiting for us to call. They have their work to do. I think when you get into the legislative time frame as well too, you'll see bills that get put onto the table and then pulled off for one reason or another, but then they get thrown back on at the end of the day because there's extra time. What we want is we want to make sure that we have somebody there constantly in order to champion the cause. We work closely with the Council of Governments. We work closely with the Municipal League, so the New Mexico Municipal League. So we all serve a purpose, but we believe at the size that Roswell is, having that extra chip on the table, we're hoping will be more effective in doing some of that work that we need done. We've had certain citizens that have greatly helped us with that as well. But I said, so the purpose, I think, and that's what the city council discussed and considered, and then ultimately decided on, that this should be money well spent, that we should be able to get legislation that works for our community. And so we're hoping that our local legislators can utilize that lobbyists, as well as Chaves County, as well as our region, in order to move what we would like to see for our city. And so hopefully that helps answer that. We're hoping that it will work. It is an annual contract. So if we don't see if the city council doesn't see the actions that they hope to see out of this, they'll be able to cancel it within 7 days. And so that's where that structure is. I see no other chat comments showing up. I'll give just a couple. We have about 3 minutes left within this conversation, and we'll hit that 1 hour time frame. So if there are no other questions that come up, we'll close this one out. And so as we walk through this, we have a lot of different structure within our organization. We have a lot of different red tape. Every government has a little bit of red tape. What we are constantly trying to do is cut that red tape, remove the red tape, use smaller red tape, however we can do that in order to get the information out there. All of these types of meetings, all of the information that we are putting out on the websites, all these presentations, all this information, we are trying to make it easier to understand the information. We talked a little bit about through the budget cycle. It is very difficult to understand the budgets because we have certain money that is restricted for certain uses. We have certain money that can be spent on everything. And the balance is that we put it all together in that model so that we can take care of those needs. We will never have enough money to do everything that we want to do, so it becomes a prioritization of all of that work. And that commitment kind of goes through there. The city council is the group that makes that decision on all of it. They're the ones that establish what the city manager's responsibilities and duties are. They're the ones that help establish how our structure of government works with all the other government structures out there. So keep in mind that as to how that works, it does all start with the citizen's voice on the street. We elect these individuals, these lay people, as I call them, into the offices, the public offices, to help do those things that are important for the community and to help bring about what is best for our home. I will tell you that over the 23 years that I've served as a city manager, every city is very similar in nature. And what happens with every city is that it has a family type atmosphere. We're not always going to agree. What is really nice about the system, the democratic system that we have, is that if we can get it to a vote of our elected officials, a decision gets made. So when you come to these city council meetings, they're jumping from something as minor as dog feces on a rec path all the way up to what can we do in order to stop major crime from happening in our city. It goes through the gamut every meeting that we have. And that's why these citizen advisory groups, that's why citizens individually are so important within our system. So keep that in mind as you look through that. Once these individuals are elected in an office, your job is not done. Your job is just beginning as well. call, write, email, provide them that guidance. Note that they're going to make the best decision based upon all their experiences, based upon the information that they have. They're all individual in nature. I hear every once in a while that the mayor drives how they vote. I will tell you, it does not. But you're not going to see some of those debates that they have individually or one-on-one, because that's not what the system is built for. They work as a body. They make the best decision possible. So I see no other questions upon this. I want to thank everybody for their time. And if there's anything that we can do, our emails are out there. All that information is there. So please let us know where we can help. Thank you for all of your time, for being out there. Have a great, safe weekend, and we'll talk to you later. This public forum's ended.